Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us, and I hope all of you are doing just as well. That, all of you are drying out down south, and, unfortunately, you are getting ready for what looks like maybe the next round. Right now, it's, I believe it's Irma is levied at Puerto Rico, and it looks like it's heading towards South Florida. And after, Computer America, fun fact for all of you history buffs, Computer America got its start in South Florida. That's right. And, we have a lot of friends and family down there. And, of course, we're going to be thinking the best of you guys. It's, these hurricanes are coming one after another. So, of course, everyone will keep an eye on that. And heck, we even have a news story kind of dedicated to that later on in the show, talking about the different prediction models and, which ones are getting it right, which ones are getting it wrong. And fun fact, I think for the first time this year, what is known as the European model has actually outperformed human climatologists, meteorologists, whoever does the hurricanes. Computers are better at people for the first time. And that was actually tracking the last hurricane. So, yep, lots of things to hear on Computer America. So, again, welcome into the program. For anyone who did not know, sorry about yesterday. We, of course, had a best of Computer America, Labor Day off, and, shaking off the cobwebs from a long weekend. So if you are just joining us, you are in luck because today's guest is a lot of fun and happy to have him back on. This is Mr. Bob LeVitus himself, Mr. Dr. Mac, and we'll be talking about a bunch of different ways that you can increase productivity. And hey, he even has some new material for how you can do that. And here to talk all about how you can be, not just a computer user and not just a Mac user, but really a power user and, really increase productivity. So also be sure to check out computeramerica.com. We have links to every and anything that we do here on today's program, as well as, we have the video portion. You can watch Computer America, not just listen. And of course, the social media contest, which you can enter, and a prize is shipped out from from Logitech, who is giving away an M720 mouse every single Friday. And hey, we could be calling your name live on the air. So, with all of that said, why don't we just jump into this? And again, Bob LeVitus, Dr. Mac, has been writing about computers for such a long time, and yeah, I had the number in front of me, but no, a longtime friend of the show, and actually one of now that I'm thinking about it, one of the rare few who are still espousing the virtues of the Mac operating system here on Computer America. So, with that being said, Bob, welcome into Computer America once again.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me, and I'll have you know, I date back to whatever junior college we used to have the show at in Florida, back in the day when guests actually were in the same room as the host
and a live audience. Back
with a live audience. That's right.
Back at Palm Beach Atlantic or FAU or
I think we were at both. At various times. Yes.
Yeah.
So
a lot of fun. So yeah.
And I was espousing Mac stuff way back then too.
Yeah, but back then, it was probably Apple. I don't know what exactly caused Microsoft to take over the world, but Mac, they were strong. They've kept their core customer base, and they're not going anywhere. And if anything, they're more relevant than ever, just simply because hey, we all have an iPhone. It's
that's right.
So Mac is still a very prominent operating system in our lives, but what you tend to talk about, at least the past couple times you've been on the show here, is that there are tips and tricks to becoming what I refer to as a power user, what many people refer to as power user. Why don't you talk about your mission and what you do as a writer?
Well, it's even more than power user. What it is I see so many people. I teach. I've taught up until this year at University of Texas. I taught all kinds of Mac classes. I taught iMovie class, a GarageBand class, a Intro to Mac, a Power User Mac, and I met a lot of people and watched a lot of people using their Macs, and it struck me that most of them use them. I hate to disparage my former students, but they used them badly.
Oh yeah.
They would, they would type with two fingers and then say to me, "How can I become more productive?"
Yeah.
And it's just so obvious. And like they don't know how to cut, copy, or paste from the keyboard. So every time they need to do something like that, it's a 3-step process that takes 3 seconds when it could take the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And you watch that, and as an experienced productivity user, to me, I'm always looking for a way to shave a second off anything I do over and over again. If it's a repetitive process, my nature is to automate it and make it like a no-brainer. If I do something every day, if I do something many times a day, well, for sure I want to figure out the easiest and fastest way to do that thing.
And that's
what it's all about.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like Apple or Microsoft or anyone. It's not like they and I use a lot of shortcuts in like Chrome and the whatnot, but it's not like they aren't meeting you halfway. Like a lot of these shortcuts and quick keys and what have you, they're baked into the programs. Like it's not like you have to learn to code and you start making macros. No, I mean it's just knowledge is power. It's not even really doing much different.
It's true, and one of my most popular free giveaways is called the Keyboard Shortcut Cheat Sheet, and I tell people print this and tape it on your monitor, and people always laugh and go, "That's so analog and so like odd for something so digital like keyboard shortcuts." And I say, you want it where you can see it all the time. If you put it on your computer, you're never going to look at it. So if you tape it to your monitor, your eyes are always on it. And it depends who you listen to, but it takes anywhere from 20 some to 60 some days to form a new habit.
Right.
And so, if you want to get in the habit of using keyboard shortcuts, you kind of have to force yourself to do it for a while till it becomes second nature. Then once it goes into your muscle memory, it's great because you don't even think about it. Your muscles do it before you even think about it. And that's even faster than thinking about it and doing it.
Yeah, it's I found myself the same way. That's how I kind of get my long convoluted passwords. I know it's so safe to put passwords on sticky notes, but I after putting it in for 2-3 weeks, I start to memorize what it is I'm doing without even looking at the paper anymore. It's a great way to learn. So and obviously printing things out, yes, it is analog, and that's why I will say that a lot of what you do is kind of analog. You write a lot of books. You are an author of you have I think I have it
83
right?
now. Well, it'll be 83 books when all the new Apple books come out. I got a High Sierra book coming out. I got a iPhone iOS 11 coming out, and I got a iPad iOS 11 coming out. So when those are out, it'll be 84.
Right, and also to give the listening audience a little bit better idea of why your tips are so helpful. Why don't you talk a bit about of course you can read it at the bio at your website, but talk a bit about ADHD, one of what should be the antithesis of any writer. To sit down and write.
It was even worse before I knew I had it. Let me tell you, it was a struggle. But having it and now looking back, I see that my whole life has been a struggle to like be organized and be efficient and not forget things. Part of being what I call part of working smarter is not missing deadlines, not forgetting to do things. And so over the time since I've been a freelancer. I've built systems that are designed to support someone that's very scatterbrained, by their nature that, has the attention span of a gnat, I like to say.
Right.
And, you know, I'm, I am not very organized by my nature, but I force myself to be because otherwise I'll fail, and failure isn't an option. So over all the years, before I figured out I had ADD and after I was diagnosed, I realized I've just looked for systems that work for me, that allow me to function in today's, increasingly noisy and distracting world, right?
Yeah.
And B, not just it's not just that I've averaged 4 books a year for 25 years. It's that I've done that, and for the last maybe 20 years, I haven't worked 18-hour days. I've been able to do that and have a life like normal people. In the
That is,
beginning,
yeah,
before I
that's
figured
scary.
stuff out, I didn't. I worked all the time and I was always behind. And over time, I've learned how not to be that way.
Right.
And that's why I'm passionate about this, because I realize I figured this stuff out because I'm Bob LeVitus, the geek that wrote 80 some books about Macs.
right.
But most people aren't. And there's the stuff I'm teaching isn't rocket surgery.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that I always hear, be it with weight loss, be it with any kind of major goal that people accomplish. They say, if I can do it, then anyone can do it, and I always kind of cringe at that, because I really don't think that anyone can do it. The only people that can do it are the people who really want to do it. The people who want to push themselves. And so I'm not gonna say that anyone can do, anyone can write 80 books like you did. But I will say that the tips, I've even seen, like your cutout sheet, sticky to Craig's computer. You give people tools to help them if they want to change, then they can, definitely make that change. So, and of course, branching off of that, we are here to talk about one of your latest, kind of ways to get people to, digest your content, because books, very analog, even though you do have digital downloads and ebooks and things like that. But as I understand it, you are here to talk about it was an online,
the latest member of the family,
yeah, please,
of the
go ahead.
Working Smarter family, which is an online course. It's about 3 hours of training. And the thing is, I know a lot of people who don't read books. They just can't learn that way. They don't want to, and they're not interested.
Right.
And for people like that, where do you turn? Well, they go to YouTube, or they get an online course, or they go to someplace like lynda.com, where they have a library of courses. And what I have is pretty specialized. I mean, I don't think everybody needs what I'm pitching, but there are people who do. And for them, I could see where reading 280 pages might be an onerous task, but watching 3 hours of video is okay.
Yeah.
And for those people, that's what this is about. And it's kind of an experiment, because I don't cover everything in the book. It's only maybe the first 1/3 of the book. But I want to see if it resonates with people. I've heard from a lot of people they'd rather see it in video. They just don't. They're not book people. And for them, I've always said I can teach better if I can show than if I have to tell. And when you're writing for a book or an ebook, even an ebook with my current ebook, Working Smarter for Mac Users, has a few movies in it,
Right.
but that's not the same.
Right.
Being able to drop a movie in an ebook isn't quite the same. Plus, I have complaints from people that the file is too big because of the movie. So I don't think that's the solution, but I think for a lot of people, training needs to be visual. And I've developed, it's so funny. I'm writing a blog post that I'll finish tomorrow or the next day. But I was looking at my hard disk trying to figure out when I began being obsessed with video teaching or teaching by video. And I have a proposal from 2001 for the soon-to-be patented Bobovision process, which was the first animated video TV, show your Mac screen on TV kind of animated, like we have today for every app you've ever seen. But this was 17 years ago. And I really thought animated, video showing people how things worked with circles and lines and arrows and stuff was the way to go. And I even made a demo, which I had huge hubris back in 2001. And so I used Survivor's Eye of the Tiger as the soundtrack, which means now I can't show anybody the demo in public. So, and the silent version's terrible, but I'm pulling some screenshots from it because I like to say Working Smarter, the course, has been in continuous development for 16 years now. Because I never stopped thinking about, at some point I'm going to be capable of doing what I wanted to do in 2001. Mm-hmm. But I can't. In 2001, I realized I didn't have the bandwidth or the budget. And today, I can say I did the whole course as a solopreneur. I did every single thing. My book was more of a group effort. I had a production person, I had an editor, but the course, because I like to produce video, I just did everything myself. And last year, really not that long ago, was the first time I really felt like we had the tools and that I had the skills to produce hours of video in a professional manner that look and sound really, like they were done in a studio. And even though I'm using cheap equipment, the idea is for the viewer to not be distracted by crappy production. It's well lit. All of my animation stuff should be easy for you to see and clear and large. And, the whole thing is designed to be easy to watch. And if it's not, well, they'll complain and I'll redo it. But so far I've had a couple hundred people. I had like maybe 30 beta testers before we opened, and I've got 150 students in there now. And everybody that I've asked, I said, I was really a little worried because nobody's really seen this. Is it okay? And everybody's good with it. Everybody says, no, it's way better than most of the video we see. So, I looked at a lot of online courses and I knew what the bar was, and it wasn't that high, but for me, it was higher than what I saw. I saw a lot of bad video with good information. And I thought if I paid for that, I'd be disappointed. So now I hope I hit the trifecta. I hope you got good information worth paying for, presented in a clear manner.
It definitely feels like this is a nice intersection from, obviously being a teacher in college, a professor that, hey, you're used to standing in front of someone and being able to show them, and this would be the next best thing than standing over someone's shoulder going, here's what you can do.
Well, they can hire me to do that if they want, but that's
so you are available. So you are available for birthday parties. Very good to hear. So
I am.
There's
a sign up form on the website. You can book me for a birthday party.
Perfect. So video is definitely a good idea. I mean, 280 pages. That's honestly, I was an avid reader. When I was younger, still am, and that's not too bad. But when it gets very technical, when it gets to things that, let's face it, if this is sometimes your first time hearing this kind of information and having to put it into practice, that can seem very overwhelming. So, video format I think would work a lot better. Very happy that you did this. Obviously, not all the information you said is available through the video format, but tell me about kind of translating what you do in text and, making a video, kind of boot camp out of it. I mean, did it just feel better, or did you have to kind of work around the fact that you couldn't, go on a tangent as often as you could maybe in text? I mean, how was making, the videos?
Well, I could go on a tangent. The thing was, because I was the editor, I had to be the adult supervision that cut it if it wasn't a good tangent. And the thing that I learned from taking a lot of online classes was if a lesson is too long, I lose interest. And a lot of times if I stop in the middle of a lesson, that's it. I don't go back and finish. So I tried to keep the lessons fairly short. I think the longest one is maybe 9 or 10 minutes. And most of them are 3 to 7 minutes, which it's a digestible chunk to sit down and absorb at once, I hope.
Yeah.
That is my guess. And my experience from taking these things was a lot of people make them too long, each lesson. And you know, it's better if, well, however much material you've got, figure out ways to, you know, stop after 8 to 10 minutes and go to the next lesson. Even if I have a couple places where a topic took 3 lessons, but that's fine. Beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah. No.
The thing is, I don't want you to be overwhelmed and get in the middle of a 46-minute lesson and say, "Oh, my head is swimming."
Yeah, no, that we've even had companies on the show here that, you know, they have entire websites, databases, and services dedicated to teaching you new skills in 5 minutes or less. And, you know, it sounds like you're trying to do that, but with obviously Mac users and, you know, just
In 3 hours, not 5 minutes. But yeah, I basically
right,
say if you
but
give
over
me
the
3
course.
hours, I will save you hours a week every day, hours, or I will save you a boatload of time every day for the rest of your life. You know, if you can watch 3 hours of video, the things you're going to learn will save you time every day for the rest of your life. And that adds up to a lot of time.
No, it
What are you
does.
going to do with all those extra weeks, you know?
You're going to listen to every backlogged episode of Computer America in your spare time. But
Binge listen.
exactly. But
advice.
my next question to you is that, you know, obviously you mentioned that one of your most popular, you know, kind of freebies was, of course, the, you know, the keyboard shortcut. Tell me about something that maybe, you know, so many people or the most people kind of go, you can do that? Or, you know, what's kind of an obvious thing that people, you know, maybe to me, you and other, you know, advanced users, we'd say,
Yes.
well, of course.
I've got one for you. I've got one for you. It's easy. Built into at least the Mac operating system and probably Windows is the ability to have text snippets where you type something, you know, 2 or 3 letters, and when you hit space, it expands into something longer than what you just typed.
Huh.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I know you can buy programs if you've been able to buy this forever. But Apple has it built in. It's in the keyboard system preference pane. It's kind of rudimentary, but for things like your phone number and your address and boilerplate text that you type into web browser, you know, forms very often, things like that, it's pretty convenient and it's free and it's built in. Then when you've learned that, so for example, I have 5 email addresses and each of them can be typed by typing 3 letters. BLC is Bob LeVitus at BobLeVitus.com. BLM is Bob LeVitus at Mac.com. BLG is Bob LeVitus at Gmail.com. So, you know, those are things that I type a lot every day and that are, there are dire consequences to mistyping them, right? Your
Yep.
email address. So if you mistype it, somebody won't be able to get back to you. It could mean, you know, that $1 million contract. So they're automated and, you know, so I type 3 letters and it types my whole email address, 30, 40, 50 characters. And even more than that, I've got signature lines. I've got my address when people say, you know, where should I send that? I can do that with 3 characters also. I've got a email response to people who try to pitch me Windows software. It's called No Win. If I type no win, it writes 4 paragraphs explaining why it's futile to try to get me to review Windows software since I don't own a Windows machine or a copy of Windows.
You know, and if there's a listener out there that will correct me, please feel free to do so live at computeramerica.com. But I don't know of any native application that's in Windows that lets you do that. I see Craig do it all the time. Quite annoying because he has these loud chirps whenever it does it. But
oh yeah, well,
yeah,
he's probably using the commercial product that you would use, which is Text Expander, probably.
Yeah, probably something like
that. If he's using Text Expander, yeah, you can set it to have a chirp on an expansion, so you know that it expanded.
Right.
And there's a different sound when it fails.
Right.
And I don't think you want to know that.
I probably not, but that's something that I actually don't use, but I've seen used to great effect. And no, you know, obviously if you are, you know, if your day job involves answering emails or any kind of regular correspondence, obviously that could save someone a lot of time. So very, you know, very good, solid advice. So getting back to your, you know, your digital course, I'm not really even sure what to call it right now. Do you have a proper name for it?
It's called, Improve your efficiency. It's working smarter for Mac users. Improve your efficiency. Everything I do for this company, for my own company, is going to be called Working Smarter for Mac Users something.
Gotcha.
So the book is just called Working Smarter for Mac Users because it covers all the bases. But the courses are a little bit more focused. So there'll be another one on organizational skills and just basic like housekeeping for Mac users, and then the final one is focus, concentration, and procrastination.
Of course, all those things. Well, no, one of those things is not like the other. As Sesame Street you would used to say. But so obviously this is aimed at Mac users. You can tell that from the name. Obviously, this isn't something holistic or Buddhist or what have you. This is obviously, for computer users. And
for Mac computer users, and I tried to get a guy to translate it into Windows for me, but
why?
He said he wanted to, and then he apparently got some paying work, and since I didn't want to pay him, I told him I would be happy to, if he did it, publish it for him and split the proceeds, which is a way better deal than most publishers would give him, since it's my idea. But he didn't want to translate it.
Are you telling me that if I don't, or if I open your videos in parallels, it won't just auto translate everything and everything just works?
I wish. I wish it would tell you what will do those little macros, those little text macros. I think that there might be a Windows version of Text Expander now.
There is, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there you go.
Yeah,
you can use that, but the Mac users get, the simple stuff for free. The problem with the Mac version, though, the one that's in the keyboard system preference pane, is it's got a little teeny field for you to type in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's difficult to type anything longer than maybe an email address or one line of text. You can do it, and in fact, you can paste in multi-paragraph stuff, but you can't see it. So You're kind of working blind until you trigger it and look at it, and it's not real conducive to anything more than a few, maybe 50 characters. But it gives you a start. It's like once you've done your phone number, your address, and all your email addresses, and a few other things that you type constantly, you go, wow, this is great. I could use this. Wow, it would be great to be able to do this and this and this and control the case of the expansions. And there's just lots of other good stuff built into Text Expander that make it worth paying for.
Now, here's the question. Let's say you write a lot of emails to your significant other. Sometimes it happens. Should you use Text Expander to say, I love you, or should you type that out every time? Does it mean less when it's text expanded?
I don't know. That's funny. I actually have a little sign-off phrase that I use with my significant other, and I type it. I never thought about it, but it's not. I don't have it. It's not macroized.
There you go.
And it's a finger twister too, because it's got periods. It's like an acronym with periods, so it's hard to type. Thank you for the idea. I'm gonna have to make a Text Expander shortcut for that. I don't think she'll love me any less if I use a shortcut.
Well, as long as you don't tell her. But and getting back to this thing. So everyone, we have a link to workingsmarterformacusers.com. There's a link in the show notes. If people wanted to find the video, because you can find the book there pretty easily. If people wanted to find the videos, where do they go to buy that?
Well, so here's the thing. There's the newly redecorated Working Smarter website has a link. Let's see, workingsmarterformacusers.com has a link. Can't open because the server is dropping the connection. I think, I must have internet, but I think Skype is using it all. Anyway, there is a link up in the upper right corner that says store. And if you go there, you'll see links to purchase both the ebook and the course. The ebook you'll buy right from the website, and the course will take you to the course website, which is separate. And there's three levels of I don't know what you call it.
Expertise, right?
Of greatness. No, you can have one of the levels includes live weekly phone calls and personal consulting.
with features
Another
and
one,
things like that.
Another one includes group phone calls, and yeah, you can buy as much of me or as little of me as you want with your course.
There you go, everyone. And by the way, Bob, would you mind staying over for just a minute and we'll do our sign off? Everyone, Computer America will be back just after this.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour as we continue on here with Bob LeVitus. So, and Bob, honestly, we ran a little bit close there to the break, but if you could talk about pricing, I mean, let's start with the introduction, just kind of the basic. I want the lessons. I want the videos. How much?
It's $99 for the course. That's the base price for the course alone, and that includes membership to our delightful private Facebook group where there's a lot of already, and there's we're only a week in, but there's already good conversations going on. People have been talking about a couple of things in the lessons. Mm-hmm. And we've been hearing it's great. One of the things I recommended was you might not like Apple's keyboard. And here's the one I like, and here's why. And one guy said, I'm going to order that, and I'll let you know how I like it. And so after a week, he posted and said, I'm typing significantly faster, and I think you were right, which is great. I mean, not that he confirmed that I was right, but that he's giving feedback for other people.
Absolutely.
So they can, look at the keyboard and go, oh, wow, he bought one and liked it. Bob likes it. Maybe I should try it.
There you go. And this seems to be a lot of what it is, which is helpful advice, useful advice, and things to make you a better computer user, a better Mac user. So, and Bob, I'll say with that, did we miss any topics that you kind of wanted to cover, or
no? I think
really
you got
highlight
it.
The video?
The website. If you sign up for the mailing list, right on the first page of the website on the homepage, mm-hmm. You'll get offered to. I've got some free email course tips, like stuff from the course in email. I've got a little short video course that's free that, once you're on the list, you get the instructions to go take a look at that. And so if you're not ready to buy something, please join the mailing list and at least look at some of that stuff and see what you think. You can always buy, but I've got lots of free stuff you can have first to see if you like me.
Right, absolutely. And of course, we want to thank you for being here on Computer America. Again, the mailing list, absolutely free. I know that we're a member of it, of course, and always a pleasure to have you on, Bob. This was great to hear that you're not just sitting around.
Yeah, somebody said, when are you going to retire? And I said, the day after I die. I mean, I don't have any interest in not doing this. This is way too much fun.
Absolutely. So yeah, and of course, looking forward to having you on next when you write. I don't know if it's another 6 months like it has been this time. You'll probably be up to like book 95. So Bob, looking forward to having you back on. And of course, thank you for being on Computer America.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right,
thank you for having me. I appreciate it a lot.
All right, have a good one. Bye bye.
Take care. All right, bye bye.
And there he goes, everyone. So, Mr. Bob LeVitus, Dr. Mac. You can check out him, and he has many, many books throughout the ages that, if you're using an older computer, hey, maybe he can help you. Or if you're using the latest, hey, he has you covered. And of course, there's lots. Oh man, we should have talked to him about kind of what he's expecting from the event next week. But we can hypothesize and dream about next week's Apple event all we want. It will still be let's wait and see what they actually do kind of proposition. So with that being said, Computer America continues on, and you know what? We're going to do computer and technology news brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. So, here we go. All right, and so for our first story, I really want to get this one out of the way because, you know, it's, let's see, it's not this one, not this one. Oh my goodness, I just had it. Here we go. This is coming from Ars Technica, and it's very relevant because obviously Hurricane Harvey, we are still cleaning up the aftermath of that, and it's, you know, just horrible what happens when a hurricane, you know, strikes a place that's really unprepared, or, you know, really strikes anywhere, but more so when you just don't know what's going to happen. And, well, that's why we have these different models called, you know, these different models that track hurricanes, try to predict where they're going to go. And, you know, there's a lot of them out there. At least there's a few major ones that try to predict what can happen with a hurricane. And, well, here we are looking at, we're looking at, and this is from Ars Technica, again, Mr. Eric Berger, and saying that at times during Harvey, the European model outperformed humans. That's right, the European model, which I believe is the spaghetti model. But NOAA says their new hurricane model, HMON, performed terribly. That's in contrast to the European model. Yeah, so with that being said, as a resident of Houston and a meteorologist, the author closely tracked the development of Hurricane Harvey for as much of the month of August. And as part of that, he watched every news cycle of forecast models to determine which one handled the track forecast best. And again, this is very important because whoever gets it best, we can then say, hey, this one has a history of doing things correctly. So, you know, hey, these are the ones that we need to pay more attention to when they say, hey, where they're going. And for a long time, the big question with Harvey concerned what the storm would do after it moved inland into central Texas late on Friday, August 25th. You know, saying that would it stall for 1 or 2 days and then move south? Would it stall for a couple more days? Or would it slowly drift to the southeast, out into the Gulf, and then move up the coast? Each of these situations mattered for Texas because whichever area lay to the northeast of the storm center would receive the heaviest rains. And ultimately, the rain bullseye fell along the corridor along the Interstate 10 from Houston to Beaumont, where more than 45 inches of rain fell during a period of about 4 days that led to said flooding. Yeah. So, yeah, there we have it. And Euro again, saying that this considerable uncertainty about Harvey's movement was due to the utter lack of steering currents for Harvey once the storm moved inland and bumped up against a large area of high pressure going through. So, obviously, this is going a bit into the weather, but, you know, stick with us. Saying that, not surprisingly, it was the European forecast model that first sniffed out the storm's actual track, saying that as early as Thursday, August 24th, so about 24 hours before, the model forecasts a move inland near Victoria, a stalling out over the weekend, and a southeastern drift that brought the storm back over the Gulf of Mexico by Sunday or Monday. And if you're looking at the video portion, we have the actual course of the hurricane, and you can see, yeah, that's pretty much what it did. And so the European model is king, as there is a tweet here highlighting that. And, you know, they kind of go into the data a bit, but let's jump ahead, saying that, you know, when we look at the data, we see several interesting trends, saying that among global models, though through a 72-hour forecast, the UK model is generally a little bit more accurate than the European model. However, at longer time frames, 4 to 5 days, the European model shows its class. And again, if you're watching the video portion, we have, you know, all these different ones. There's probably about a dozen different models. And yeah, you know, hey, European is obviously king. So saying that, in fact, the 4-day forecasts for the European model were more accurate than the consensus model or even the human forecasters at the National Hurricane Center. That's why I highlighted this. Technology is more accurate than the humans who are trained to do this kind of thing. May have just been a fluke, but hey, it's something to take note of, because if it's a fluke time and time and time again, well, it's no longer a fluke. So also of note, he wraps up this article by saying that NOAA's new hurricane model, the HMON, performed terribly, saying that the author recalled during the height of the storm that this model, instead of pulling Harvey toward the Houston area, moved the storm southwestward into Mexico, and that this scenario would have spared the fourth largest city, spared the fourth largest city in the United States from catastrophic rainfalls. Alas, the HMON model average error at 4 days was about 630 nautical miles, which are even more in just general miles. It's off by multiple hundreds of miles, which, when you compare that to the European model, was 170. So yeah, about 4 times as inaccurate. A long way to go for HMON, but it's good to know that they're tracking this and they're trying to see which one is obviously the best at it. So yeah, there you have it. Just really wanted to highlight that, with Irma coming up heavy, not saying that you shouldn't trust one model over the other. You need to take them all and, kind of make a best estimate. Don't take anything for granted. But in the meantime, from a technology standpoint, something to take note of. So with that being said, why don't we move on to our next story? And this was another big piece of news because it probably affected a few of you out there listening, where if you purchased a pre-built laptop made by Lenovo, well, they finally settled the fine. And, I'm sure that they've already handled the fallout from it about returning it or, solving the consumer complaints. But at least at the state level, they're finally getting around to settling up. And this coming from Inverse Innovation by Nick Lucchesi, saying that if you have a 3-year-old Lenovo laptop at home, it may be secretly collecting visual data on your web browsing habits and using it for advertising purposes. Because, like we've learned over the past couple of years, data is king. Data is super, a lot of people care about it. Saying that the FTC announced Tuesday that it had settled with the Beijing-based electronics company over 3 violations that showed that the agency is continuing to clamp down on companies that invade customer privacy. Well, yeah, when you sell 750,000 Lenovo laptops, whichever one, again, were sold between August 2014 and June 2015, they all came pre-installed with a program called Visual Discovery, made by the Palo Alto, California-based firm Superfish. And Superfish was, anything that they really made was generally considered malware. So the software would act as a man in the middle between a consumer browser and the website that they visited. Saying that imagine the online equivalent of someone without your knowledge intercepting your mail, opening it, reading it, resealing it, and putting it back in your mailbox. Saying that that's what we allege the software did. And essentially what they're saying there is that Superfish was acting as an unseen third party that did not need to be part of any transactions. It's not like they were doing anything to provide any kind of services other than to collect third-party data. So by the mere fact that they weren't able to provide any kind of verifiable, useful service, this whole case would be something completely different. Like if they promised to be, a malware checker, then they could probably get away with this. But instead, hey, they were simply scraping user data to then make profit off of it. So with that, and of course they're saying that it did things like if you're looking at an ad for a chest of drawers, Superfish, going by example on its own website, can help you find a matching sideboard, or credenza, saying that the software would then keep its eye out for related websites, all based on images instead of relying on old-fashioned keywords. So it wouldn't scan the words; it would just look for pictures and then try to associate them. Again, malware. That's what Lenovo sold, and the point is, saying that saying that if you went to a spoof website, one that looked like a furniture store but was really a data capturing one, you'd be up a creek. So, they're saying that the information that Superfish collected, was a lot more harmful than they let on. So here's the point. Saying that to put today's announcement in context, that this is the third privacy case that the FTC has announced in the past 30 days, saying that the first was against Uber and the next one was against TaxSlayer, and that those of you who follow the FTC can find some common themes from these cases, saying that all of them involve sensitive information that, of course, should not be available to the wide, to a lot of people out there. And a lot of these websites are tracking people, without their knowledge. So the punishment, saying that at this stage, the FTC can't actually levy any sort of fine against Lenovo, but if Lenovo violates the orders that the FTC announced, the federal agency can lay down the fine hammer. However, the Attorney General in 32 states say that in total, Lenovo will pay out $3.5 million to 32 states, saying that each state will receive a settlement of $286,145. Let's be honest here. If you're Lenovo, if you're pulling down, profits of $800 million, a quarter, or whatever their latest financial report was, $3.5 million probably isn't much more than the cost of business. It's not too bad, but obviously this is going to not look good on Lenovo's resume. And they said that, the company, of course, has set up a web page, Superfish uninstallation instructions, where you can actually go and, remove the malware from your computer yourself. And if you, again, purchased a Lenovo laptop, and in this article we have it linked in the show notes, if you purchased one of the, dozen or so different model series, and then they have all the different model types, you can go look it up. You may need to run that yourself so that you are not running it. But with that being said, Lenovo, this is not the first time and probably not going to be the last time that they've been caught in this kind of compromising position. So, all right. Let's do something a little bit more fun than people having their laptops, spied on. How about we do, and I say that, and I look at a story about another instance of this happening in Europe, where the courts found that spying on your employees, sending private messages during work hours, was considered illegal. So spying on laptops. But how about this one? Why don't we do... let's do this one. So for those of you who do not pay attention to video games, this is part of the show that I really am remiss, because I wish we could delve further into video games more often. But for those of you who have not been paying attention, there is a new first-person shooter out there that's, new by most accounts. If you're in the space, it seems like it's been around forever now. But, just 6 months after it hit early access on Steam, it now has over 10 million people. I believe that's concurrent users. And way more than that, playing it at the same, playing it at different times. So with that being said, this is a huge milestone, and it's not even out of beta yet. That's right. It hasn't even had its official launch. Weird things are happening in the video game space. So this coming from a gadget saying that PUBG, which is PlayerUnknown's Battleground, has 10 million people aiming for your head. You know, hey, it's a video game. Saying that last month, PlayerUnknown Battleground overtook Dota 2 as the game with the most simultaneous players on Steam, and on September 1st, it hit another milestone, saying that today, Bluehole announced that the game has sold over 10 million units on early access since March. That's right, this game isn't even launched. This is the beta. This is early access, and they have 10 million people. Admittedly, I don't think that they're going to see a huge increase once it's officially, announced. I feel like it's it's one of those games that's going to be in beta for pretty much as long as it's out, until one day people are just going to go, I guess we aren't in beta anymore. So the game has also achieved a higher peak concurrent user count than it has before, with 970,000 people playing at once, so just shy of 1 million. That's a lot of people. And along with these stats, the game's first major event, the PUBG Invitational, kicked off last month, where according to Bluehole, Twitch viewership of the event peaked at 536,000, while Panda TV viewership hit 5.6 million, saying that it is amazing and gratifying to see the love and support for the passionate fans that they've shown to PlayerUnknown's Battleground. And though slightly delayed from the initial projection of a September launch date, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is expected to be released for Xbox One later this year. Although, as far as I know, no true end date for when they're going to release the actual end game. And, we can get into a whole discussion about PlayerUnknown's Battleground and how it's getting so much attention and it's not even a finished game yet. It seems almost disingenuous that you put this much time and effort into a game and you still hide, you still, like, I kind of see like the beta, the beta badge as, well, you can excuse some mistakes. You can excuse, gameplay issues. You can excuse graphics. You can excuse, server issues because, hey, we're still in beta, quote unquote. You can't blame us. And at the same time, with 10 million users and a game that's been out for 6 months on the market, at some point, you have to take off the protection of just being another beta, and you have to start fixing some of the problems in the game. And at the moment, the true, the thing that they seem to be fixing is their monetary flow. I don't know. So there you have it, PUBG, 10 million users over the past month and just shy of 1 million concurrent users at a time. Really, it's the most popular game on Steam at points and just hugely popular altogether. If you haven't tried it, check it out. I watch it plenty, and yeah, it's very entertaining if you can get into it. So, all right. With that being said, we probably have time for just one, maybe two more stories. How about we do something fun? And yeah, let's do this one. So, for those of you who don't know, repairing phones. I just had to do this over the weekend. I had to repair an iPhone. It was an iPhone 6S. Not the most fun thing in the world, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. Unless you want to pay those outrageous prices. Though, spoiler alert, if you're buying an essential phone, you may be having to pay someone anyways because it's not very repairable. And saying that, don't even try to repair the essential phone. This is coming from John Fingus from Engadget. Saying that the Essential PH1, aka the Essential phone, is designed to withstand dents and scratches, but what happens if something breaks on the inside? And that's when you can forget about fixing it yourself. And I use iFixit's videos to repair the iPhone. iFixit is great at their teardowns and examples, but even they had a lot of problems cracking into the Essential phone. Saying that, hey, it's obvious that you're not really meant to poke around on the inside. For one thing, iFixit had to freeze the phone. Yes, freeze the phone. Put it in the freezer. Freeze the phone and break the LCD just to get inside. The LCD, of course, being the the front part of your phone. And saying that even then, it still had to get past a mid-frame shield, saying that the USB-C port is soldered onto the motherboard, and the abundance of adhesives make it likely that you'll break something if you somehow don't wreck the screen going in. This is something that we're seeing with a lot of phones. iPhone included. Android does a little bit better, but it's kind of going the way of the Essential phone, where it's either tight spaces or they don't want you to fix your own phone or any number of scenarios, but more adhesives are being used, and those are less repair friendly than, say, screws. So yeah, obviously you find a lot of that in the Essential phone. Saying that the verdict on the phone's repairability doesn't come as a total shock. Essential clearly intended it to be minimalist, densely packed design that doesn't waste space. However, this serves as a reminder that extremely efficient design carry a steep price. Saying that if something goes wrong, you have little choice but to send your hardware in for an expensive repair. And that's something that, I was trying to avoid, where I had a cracked screen. To send it in would have cost, $150 some odd dollars. But if you sit down, do it yourself, watch YouTube videos, and buy the tools online, you can get, the parts, you can get knockoffs for like $30, or you can get, Apple certified ones for like $80 and do it yourself, save yourself half the repair cost for something that takes you 20-30 minutes once you get the hang of it. That seems to be less and less possible as phones really move towards these highly packed configurations. So actually, with that being said, we have time for one more quick one. And how about this one? So we've talked a lot about different streaming devices and how to get content on television when you drop your cable box. And one of the most popular out there, really one of the best in the industry, is called the Roku. And turns out they're about to go out for their initial public offering. So if you want to see a company grow, make an IPO, and rake in the cash and reinvest it back into the company and really start to see, change happen. So real quick, Roku is planning their IPO and it's coming later. Let's see. They're saying that they're planning it and that they are looking to raise $100 million and will trade on the New York Stock Exchange with the symbol Roku, obviously. And in the SEC filing, the company reports that it had 15.1 million active user accounts as of June 30th, and that those users have streamed more than 6.7 billion hours on the Roku platform. Of course, hours streamed, not really the best metric, but still impressive nonetheless. And that they point out that 2.9 billion of those were programming supported by advertisers. So, about half their content is about ad supported. And Roku is trying to bridge that divide between strictly streaming and a cable box, because Roku is trying to deliver both content in a single platform. So they're saying that there's a caveat saying that the company says that it has operated at a loss in the past and that it expects to incur operating losses in the future and may never achieve or maintain profitability. Because you know what? You know what's so annoying about those companies that are successful? Success and having to be successful. That's so annoying. Roku's saying, don't expect that. Which is weird. So, with that being said, Roku, about to hit their IPO. We'll keep an eye on that and see where they go. Everyone, please, 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 if you are in the southern part of the United States, keep an eye out for that Hurricane Irma. If you are in Puerto Rico, please, 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 be safe. Do not just kind of take it for granted. And everyone, hey, thank you for tuning in to Computer America. Hope you had a fun time. Thank you, Bob LeVitus himself, for joining us here on Computer America. And be sure to check us out Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, here on the program. That's it. Until next time, I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and from everyone here at Computer America, thank you so much. Catch you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.